roll.
Councilmember Davis. Present. Councilmember Keel. Councilmember Kerr. Here. Councilmember Parmet.
Here.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Here.
Councilmember Thista. Present. Mayor Riley.
Here.
There are 6 members present.
Thank you. First item is approval of the agenda. Councilmember Davis,
Motion to approve the agenda.
is there a second? Councilmember Kerr seconded. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Opposed? Motion passed by a vote of 6-0. The next item is communications and council, and this is an opportunity for those of you in the audience and in the public to speak to us. You have 3 minutes. We ask that you not talk about any item that is on the agenda today, because particularly the short-term rental issue, because that issue will be addressed. You have a public comment period associated with that. So, and again, is there anyone who would like to speak to us tonight? Is there anyone online who would like to speak?
I do, but I don't want to jump in it. Ladies first.
Well, wait, yep, please come up to the podium. So what we need to do is we need you to please state your name and where you live in Keystone, or where you own or visit or wherever you be.
Good evening. I'm Holly Turner and I live at 82 Solisters Circle over by the stables. We live here full time. We've owned the home for 25 years, 20 some years. And so this is all new to me, speaking and just getting involved and wanting to find out more about what's going on with our new city. But one of the things that I'd like to discuss at some point, when it becomes appropriate for the agenda, is safety on some of our streets, speed limit signs. I don't know if that's been brought up, and I apologize if it has, but I do a lot of hiking, walking, biking in the area, and we have a significant issue, especially on Soda Road going down to the Science Center. So anyway, just wanted to mention that that is a high concern for a lot of our neighbors, whether they're here full time or not, is some of the straightaway streets that are a mile long. Anyway, so that was really what I wanted to talk about.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
And while we normally don't respond, I know in our work session today, we talked about the model traffic code, safety, and the council will be addressing that coming up.
Great, yeah, I appreciate that. Look forward to
I
hearing.
think it was probably the #1 priority of the entire council is highway safety, street safety, pedestrian safety. I think
Yeah, that was a big thing when this was all coming together, that those are some of the things that were discussed as priorities. So I'm hoping that that's still the case. So, yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Any other comments?
I'll be brief. My name is Brooke Vivo. I live at 190 Sanctuary, 190 Carabel in the Sanctuary. My partner and I, Reed, and our 12-year-old son live there. We've owned a condo up here for about 25 years, and during COVID, somebody approached us at our house in Genesee. We've lived in it for 19 years and wanted to buy it. Got all the getting was good and moved up here and lived in our little 1,100 square foot condo till we found a house. We're Tim's neighbors and love it. Our issue, and we've had this issue since we bought our house for 3 years, and we really feel like it needs to be addressed. We are a same-sex couple. We've lived in the city. We're used to noise. We have 2 dogs. We love our dogs, Zoe and Chloe. But our house backs onto the Loveland Pass Village neighborhood. And their culture is loose dogs and barking dogs are not a problem. We've had consistent problems with dogs from that neighborhood coming over into our yard. As a matter of fact, we had 2 this last weekend. The man in our backyard looking for his black lab. And another man came and knocked on our door looking for his dog, Luna. But the real concern is 2 dogs that live right behind us. We lived there for the first year and lived with barking constantly from sunup to sundown, hoping he'd just die. But he didn't die. It got worse. They got a puppy, another one. So there's 2 of them. And they are tied up outside and they bark from sunup till 5 o'clock in the morning and last night till past 11 o'clock at night. And it goes constantly. The only time that they don't bark is when the owners let them out and they roam free through the sanctuary. The vice president and the treasury of our board's husband was walking his dog chain the other night. Vinny approached him, scared the hell out of him, wanted to know from us where that dog came from. I have pictures and videos of him harassing mom mooses and their babies, chasing foxes, chasing people off the hiking trail behind our house when they're trying to enjoy the trail, harassing people when they're trying to sit on their decks, and the barking goes on and on and on. It's maddening. Okay, our bedroom is in the back of our house. Our son's bedroom is in the back of our house. It's particularly troublesome in the summer. We live in Kona during the winter. We're not here, so we don't hear it in the winter. But in the summer, when we want to have our doors open and enjoy the peacefulness, we didn't move up here for that. We moved out of the city because of that, to move to Genesee 19 years earlier. So I'm just asking, we called the sheriff. They can't enforce anything unless we don't have any ordinance on our books to enforce nuisance.
That's incorrect.
That's what the lady told me when I called. Okay, so they haven't come. We need to have enforceable ordinances, nuisance ordinances on our books. And we need to contract with the dog catcher in Summit
We
County.
have a contract.
With the dog catcher?
Yes.
Okay, so I was given this information because when I've tried to get the dog catcher to come, because he's free 6 times every day, roaming through the sanctuary. I can't get anybody to come. So I think we need an ordinance on our books. We all have a right to a peaceful existence up here. We're not dog haters, but the community's changed and we all have a right to live in peace and quiet. And it's moved beyond the nuisance. It's moved beyond, it's almost like a hostile environment, like people don't respect each other's, right to a peaceful existence. And that's all we're asking for.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I'll turn this over, normally I wouldn't do, I'll turn this over to the town manager to deal with the.
It's gotten really bad. Feel free to come over anytime.
The town manager will deal with it.
Okay.
But I do want to correct one thing. We did adopt the Summit County Code, so we do have enforceable,
We do,
we do have enforceable nuisance ordinances.
we do.
We'll be considering our own nuisance ordinances next week in our work session. And we are paying for animal control support for the town of Keystone. So
I feel like I'm in a catch-22 here.
if you have issues like that for the entire public, if you have issues, contact the town manager
Okay.
and he can deal with those. And
I know there's several owners over in Keystone Ranch that are having similar issues with dogs. So I appreciate it. I don't want to be difficult. We don't want to be difficult. We don't want to get attorneys involved in stuff, but it really has gotten unbearable. It really has, it really has gotten really serious.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Are there anyone else who would like to speak? All right. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. And the consent agenda consists of the first reading of ordinances, which we have none. We have no resolutions. In the consent agenda, we do have meeting minutes from the June 11th meeting. We have one excused absence, and we have the accounts payable list, as well. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Councilmember Thiston,
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
motion to approve. Is there a second? Councilmember Sullivan?
Approve. Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the item? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please raise your hands. Opposed? Consent agenda is approved by a vote of 6-0. The next item on the agenda is a discussion, and it's a consideration of the second reading of the ordinance for short-term rentals. That is ordinance 2024-0-07, an ordinance of the town council of the town of Keystone, Colorado, adopting short-term rental regulations. Associated with this, we'll have a public hearing, and if anyone would like to speak on that, please line up at the podium. We'll ask you to please come to the podium. And I'd just like to remind you again, the 3-minute limit. And also, The council will not be directly responding to you, as you speak. But we certainly want to hear your input, and, we will certainly listen and take it into consideration for considering the ordinance. So as with that, the public hearing is now open. Would anyone like to speak? If so, step up to the podium.
Yeah.
And again, please state your name.
Mayor, we should probably introduce the ordinance from the staff. I'm sorry. No, I didn't understand what your question was. The public hearing is, it's the staff introduces, you can open a public hearing, then the staff introduces, then there's questions, and then you have public comments.
All right. Go back over that again. That's exactly the opposite of what you told me earlier. Please go ahead.
Okay, so you are opening the public hearing,
Mm-hmm.
and then now you are asking staff to introduce it, and then there's questions from town council, and then you can ask for public comments.
That. Town manager.
And I will pass that right on to our clerk with this is
All right, so this ordinance is an ordinance adopting short-term rental regulations. We began this conversation on May 14th at the work session where the staff provided an overview for town council of the existing short-term rental regulations in unincorporated Summit County. These are the regulations that currently apply to the town of Keystone, and the town of Keystone will be taking over the regulation of short-term rentals on October 1st per the IGA with Summit County. And so as part of that, staff and town council were looking at what the ordinance might look like. So at that point, staff took direction from council at that work session on the proposed ordinance and came back for May 28th, the May 28th meeting with the changes. The ordinance is largely the same as the ordinance adopted by Summit County, with the exception that Keystone is within the resort overlay zone. So we only took the resort overlay zone pieces of the Summit County ordinance rather than taking the other zones as well. And in addition to that, there are small administrative changes in terms of what department is administering the licenses and how that review process happens.
Does anyone on council have any questions?
Just want to confirm, what we said earlier was that this was for this year, and that we're gonna have a planning session. Something to be open to the public later in the year for the potential for provided changes as appropriate for our town, is that right?
Yes, if that's the direction of the council, which is what we have heard so far, yes.
In fact, I think it goes beyond that or I think the intent of the council stated is we plan to have a complete open process with all the stakeholders at the table who will review based on all the information available and make recommendations to the council for changes to the STR regulation. And that would occur over the first year, in this first year of operation. And right now, we're just adopting predominantly, as the clerk has indicated, the short-term rental regulations that largely have applied and continue, have applied in the past. Councilmember Kerr.
During this meeting, Ms. Sealy, expecting to ask you how this policy is different than the existing policy. I think you wrapped that up very well. Let me ask you just in a different way. If I were an STR owner, how would I see it different?
The primary difference is that you'll be obtaining a license from the town of Keystone rather than Summit County. And that license will be issued by the town clerk's office instead of the community development department.
And how about fees and the actual policies?
The policies are largely the same. The fees for fines are laid out in this ordinance, but the fees for the license administration is in the resolution, which has not been passed yet. But the direction we've received from council is that that will likely be similar as well.
Is it too soon to identify what you think, what we've been talking about, that the fee will be and compare it to the existing fee? It's too soon.
We haven't brought forth an official resolution, but the direction that I've heard is that it would be the same as the existing fees.
And that existing fee is $280 for license. Any other questions? For you. Any other questions? All right, with that, I'd like to open it to public comment now. I think I can do that. And with that, please state your name and where you live or own or your connection.
Hi, I'm Bob Turner, 82 South Circle. I'm a resident. We've been residents for about 5 years now, all about 20 years. I did read the ordinance. A lot of my questions have been answered. I think the difference with Mr. Mayor and council person. Yeah. I think what I see is, after reading the ordinance, I think you've got a county that was in charge of, enforcing that ordinance. Now you guys are going to be in charge of enforcing that ordinance. That's going to be a lot of fun. Because I looked at it, we've had people that are rented around our house and they've been kind of a pain in the butt or, without responsive homeowners on a block or either side. I can understand that there are situations that, particularly condos, it might get really difficult if you've got a lot of short-term rentals and condominiums, but I would encourage the council as quickly as possible to engage the community, to come up with their own ordinance. And I did watch your council meeting from a couple of weeks ago, and it's kind of an interesting thing that one of the public said it was a homeowners association. She said, we deal with this within our own homeowners association, which might be able to take some heat off you guys and off of your situation as you move forward with whatever the ordinance we got put in place. So I heard someone tell me one time, there's no such thing as permanent as a temporary situation. So I would just encourage you to go ahead and get on that as much as you can. So that's it. Thanks very much. And thanks for all you guys getting involved in doing this.
Thank you. Are there any other comments?
Of course I will.
I'm Jean Valley's Blank, and I live in Snowden, Toronto. I read the proposal, and it seems like you're trying really hard to devise something that would help the hosts and the neighbors mesh. It appears that way. However, did anybody read the Hotmail calls list? You realize that there were 17 calls during this last key season, 17 calls. 10 of them came from one person and 7 other people. So 8 people, 8 residents called in on hotlines. And if you would look at the results, you'll find a lot of them were invalid. They got little warnings. Most of them were never resolved. And I was just wondering if you have a way of creating something that would work, because post compliance was really, really bad. I know you have software that you're buying now, but if you don't look at what's happened in the past, you're never gonna fix problems in the future. So that's all I have to say. And by the way, the county started resort zones because HOAs took care of all their problems. There was no parking problems, there's no trash problems. Even in my unit, complex, if there's noise, we cover it. Nobody calls in on anything, so I back up on the HOAs. Thank you.
Are there any other comments?
Larry Press, Hidden River Lodge. I think the animal control is kind of a model for how enforcing STR should be. I've had good results with it. I'll talk to you afterward. But I talked about this last time. The problem with the county, the short-term rentals is enforcement. Okay, I've done a lot of reporting, but it stops the noise. But, that's like from 10 to 3. I don't know if your HOA wants to be, monitoring people from 10 to 3 in the morning. So I think it's a good program. And I think every, owner, I guess, everybody should get a advertising that this call-in number is available. And I don't know how I found about it, but I think the reason that there aren't that many is because it wasn't advertised. But it's definitely necessary, definitely work. The problem is enforcing on the owner, but they kind of blow it off. They don't get fined, then they just blow it off. And in my condos, they don't post the rules that the county requires. So if you can get somebody to, I don't know if you have the time to, check that those things are posted so that people know the rules. People that come up here start partying at 10. People that live here go to bed at 10, so there's a conflict there. So there needs to be communication. That's what the rule posting is about.
I'm Brooke Vivo again. I just want to mirror what he said.
Would you please speak?
Brooke Vivo, 190 Carroll. I want to mirror what this gentleman said. Tim's the president of our HOA, my partner's the vice president. We have bylaws in our covenants that about short-term rentals and barking dogs, but we don't have any jurisdiction outside of our HOA. And I personally am against calling Tim to enforce short-term rental violations. He's got a lot on his plate. We're surrounded by STRs in our house, and by and large, they're great, but you have a few that spoil it for everybody. I had a gentleman 2 years ago approach me, and we asked him to turn their music down. It was really loud, and he came out and he said, "You see these prison tattoos?" And his body was tattooed, and he said, "I'm a felon, Colorado Springs, and I'll take care of you if you don't get off my back. We paid money to rent here, and we're gonna do whatever the hell we please." And at the time, we had an empty lot next to us that's now a $4 million house. He said, "I'm gonna buy that lot and I'm gonna live right next door to you. And by the way, watch your truck." I was washing my truck. I didn't want to call Tim about that. And I didn't know about this hotline. So had I known about the hotline and it was publicized to people and out there for people to know that live next to these STRs, I think it's a great idea. I'm just an alternative approach. We're a small association. It's not Tim's responsibility to address STR issues. And if we have a hotline and we enforce the rules and people know about it, it would be very, very helpful. Thanks.
Are there any other comments? Are there any other comments? Is there anyone online? All right.
Trying to
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Good, okay. Hi, this is Reed Roberts, and Brooke was just talking to you, but I wanted to add just one little thing. If you guys could publicize, and like I think the gentleman before said, any either email or phone number that we can call. Because when it's the middle of the night, it's very stressful trying to get a handle on something, and it would be great if we had someone to call. And furthermore, I would like a call or email back because I've called the one over in Breckenridge a few times and nothing happened. So I don't know. I haven't called 17 times myself, but nothing happens. The behavior continues. Supposedly they're going to get some kind of a thing against our license and 3 strikes you're out and all of that. And I've never seen, no one's ever gotten back to me and said, okay, Reed, we cited them 2 more times and they'll be out. They won't be able to rent their place for 2 years or whatever the scenario is. Nothing ever happens. There's nobody there. So whatever you guys set up, I would like to know what it is, A, and B, what action was taken. And that's it. If you would do that, I would be extremely happy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have one more, Maddie.
We've got Kathy in the chat. It looks like she's raising her hand. Kathy, it looks like you might be on mute. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Just in case, right?
We've made you a presenter, but we can't unmute her microphone for her.
Kathy, if you could unmute your microphone, otherwise we'll have to move on to someone else. Go to the next one.
That is everyone we've got in the virtual room.
All right. So, thank you. I guess at this point, do I close the public hearing and then we go into the discussion?
Yes.
At this point, I'll close the public hearing and open the item up for discussion among the council. Would anyone like to comment? Councilmember Kerr.
So I'm a new council person, as we all are. And last week I wanted to make a change to this. And in the meantime, I have learned that the timing was not right. And in the meantime, I've heard adequate discussion in our work session today. And in just these 2 interchanges in the last few minutes to suggest that we do intend to follow through with the idea of a participative process to hear from community members. I'm going to ask my council members, because perhaps we don't need an amendment. Do I understand this correctly, that we are committed to doing this?
Yes.
That's what I want.
I thought it was a done deal. So if that is so, and you have heard us say that, my proposal was to clarify that we intend to do that. That this is a measure to ensure that when the CLU takes over, she has a policy to work with. Because we want to take time and be deliberative and as participative as possible as we develop any amendments or any changes to this policy. I don't know if we will or will not. We're counting on folks like you to give us feedback. So with that said, I'm not going to propose an amendment, and I appreciate everybody giving a heads up for this. I had head shake for this. Thank you.
Any other comments? All right, I have a couple. And speaking from an HOA perspective, in an HOA that I'm very familiar with, it's a small HOA, consisted of about 20 condominiums. It has 34 parking spaces. Which is plenty to handle the HOA. We happen to be located right next to a very large HOA. Right across the street from it. On ski weekends, we have anywhere from 7 to 10 cars illegally parked in our parking lot that all carry STR parking permits from their management companies. Our solution to that in the past has been to simply have our property manager go out and do patrols on the weekend, put flyers on the cars. The owners of the vehicles, when they see the flyers, are very accommodating and they move their cars out of our parking lot. And we also have during those peak weekends, by the way, numerous owners who cannot get a place to park in our own parking lot because of it. But our solution was to run the patrols. We spend somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000 a year on patrols. That's HOA owners having to pay to the management company to make those patrols in the HOA. If we had been reporting this through the reporting system and felt that it was responsive, you would have seen an increase potentially of 20 additional calls per week during ski season. We worked it out on our own to figure out a way around it, but the owners paid for it. And really, the owners paid for the STR problem that's generated by a complex, someone that's not even in our complex, really shouldn't be paid for by our owners. In addition to that, we're on Soda Ridge Road, and we happen to have another minor problem. It's called trash. And again, our HOA across the street used to have 2 trash containers. They removed it to 1. Now, our trash container happens to be the closest to one end of their building. Many of their STR owners come in and they come up to our trash container and they were putting it in. Now, we're paying by volume. Our 20-unit HOA generates more trash than a 50-unit complex right behind us of the same unit size. And again, since we pay by volume, it's costing our owners, I have no idea what the cost impact of that is. Our solution to it was to put key entry into our trash. So now the issue is our HOA maintenance folks have to come by every morning and pick the trash up that was put outside and open the door and deposit it in because people just drop the trash in. Now, whether that's a comment, that's not all on the STRs, but those are some of the issues that some of the HOAs are dealing with as we're addressing this. And we really want to get our arms around this, understand what the real facts are as we're going forward this first year, as Councilman Member Third was mentioned, trying to capture some very good data. So that's my experience. Anyone else have any comments you'd like to make? Councilman Burnett.
Mr. Mayor, that was very well said, stating the case for the reason why this deserves our attention. We know that we love STRs because they're the economic engine that helps make our community work. We also know that they have societal impacts. And so we are faced with what they need to encourage our economy and then also manage the effects. And we're trying to do that responsibly first by continuing what is the status quo. And then if my fellow council members that we're going to finesse that to match our community. So this is a necessary and good thing to do.
Any other comments by council? In that case, we're going to have a motion. Councilmember Sullivan.
I move to approve ordinance 2024-007, an ordinance of town council for the town of Keystone, Colorado, adopting short-term rental regulations.
The move, is there a second? Councilmember Davis.
A second motion.
Is there any discussion or debate on the item? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of ordinance 2024-0-07, an ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Keystone, Colorado, adopting short-term rental regulations. Please raise your hand. Opposed, vote. Right, I apologize. It needs to be a vote. Roll call vote. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Davis.
Approved.
Councilmember Kerr.
Approved.
Councilmember Parmet.
Approved.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Approved.
Councilmember Thisman. Approved. Mayor Riley.
Approved.
There are 6 votes to approve.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is a resolution. It's the resolution 2024-50, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Keystone, Colorado, approving a master services agreement with Deckard Technologies. And before I pass this on to the town manager, which I will in a second, for those of you who had grave concerns about enforcement, this will be part of the teeth of enforcement within the town. So with the town manager.
And since you already said that, I will pass this right down to our town clerk.
All right, so this conversation originated again with that work session on May 14th, where we brought to town council and a discussion of what the existing short-term rental regulations and enforcement policies are in Summit County. And so as part of that conversation, town council directed us to look into several different options for different providers for those enforcement options, and specifically emphasized the desire to be able to have that follow-up with the responsible agent. Because that is the piece of the ordinance that they felt like was most important to kind of be able to enforce and have that communication. So we talked to several different companies, including Deckard Technologies, Blue Vector AI, Granicus's Host Compliance, which is used by the county, and GovOS, which is used by most of the other municipalities in Summit County. And after talking to several of these companies and several of the local municipalities and other folks who use these vendors, staff decided to bring a recommendation to move forward with Deckard Technologies, specifically because they offer a 24/7 hotline that focuses on complaint resolution with the responsible agent. They offer a hotline option where you're able to have up to 3 additional back and forths between the agent and the agent at the call center and the responsible agent. And that it was the only hotline option that offered that one-on-one conversation from an actual human. And we had that conversation then at the May 28th meeting or work session. Following that, staff went back and worked with Deckard to get a contract put together. The contract has been reviewed by the town attorney and the town manager. And that is all I've got for you.
Does anyone have any questions for the clerk? Councilmember Kerr.
So, the statement of work talks about a report, or it talks about reporting. Is this a report we get regularly, or is the intent that we can tap into data that flows and we can get a snapshot at any given time?
So there are 2 pieces to this, and I emphasized the hotline primarily, but there's also identification of the short-term rental properties that exist and whether or not they're in our other licensing system. And so that is a dashboard that's live and that's continuously being updated for us to access and view.
And am I correct that also in this data, there's information of projected vacancy rates within the community and other very useful information from a town perspective regarding the short-term rentals in the town?
Yes, that's correct. It has occupancy rates kind of moving backwards and moving forwards. It's able to get that data and see what the bookings are versus when a rental might just be booked off for personal uses or blocked off from the site. So they do have a lot of additional data that we'll be able to use.
Are there any other questions, council member comment?
I just want to thank you for all the work you've done in researching this, the solutions that you brought to us to select from were good selection, and this one really does look like it's tailor-made for the needs of this community, particularly with having a customized hotline that provides more in-depth interactions, human interactions and resolution. That's, I mean, why would people call a line that doesn't lead to resolution? Then they're yelling at clouds at that point. And this looks like it's going to be something that's going to be a problem solver so that neighbors can get along well with their SPR neighbors and live a good and peaceful life in our community. So thank you for all the work that you've done to bring the solutions to the town.
Comments? Councilmember Kerr.
Read the details to try to understand something. So if I'm understanding this and I'm a neighbor with a problem, I have a choice of going to the online or calling someone. Is that, do I have that right?
Yes.
Okay. According to the statement of the work, the online complaint form will kick out an alert to code enforcement. This might be my misreading. It seems like the phone alerts will trigger up to 3 calls to the responsible agent. And does it then go to code enforcement? Is there a difference in how the system responds based on how you enter it?
So we will have the ability to customize the workflow for both of those options. The standard workflow for the complaint form is that it just goes and notifies someone at the town that a complaint has been made. But we can customize that and work with them on what that workflow looks like. For the hotline, that is customizable as well. And after those 3 calls, then it escalates it to whoever we indicate, whether that be a member of town staff, code enforcement, or to non-emergency dispatch.
And speaking to the individual who wants some feedback, did my complaint ever get to somebody who's going to do something about it? Does that end up being you? Or does the system do that? Is that another thing that you can customize it to provide?
So there's templates that you can create to respond, but there's going to be some amount of intervention in terms of the staff identifying which template needs to be used and how to customize that template for the specific scenario.
Thank you for the details.
Other questions? One more question for you. As you evaluated Decker, did you reach out to other communities that used Decker and what was their experience?
Yes, I reached out to some other municipalities in the Front Range and they had a positive experience. They're different communities in that they're not resort communities. I've also reached out to the folks in Mount Crested Butte and Telluride. They have not had the system for very long. They just went through their implementation. But they had a very positive experience with their implementation.
Any other questions? Can I have a motion? What? No, this is. Councilmember Davis.
Resolution 24-50, a resolution of Town Council of the Town of Keystone approving master services agreement with Decker Technologies.
Is there, Councilmember Curtis?
That's good.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Curtis?
$60,000 is a significant amount of money. But I think the comments we've heard tonight point exactly to why we need to get our own handle on data. We've seen county data, which suggests that only 50% of complaints are noise complaints. A significant amount are parking complaints that you're telling us have gone unenforced. So I think Ms. Blank put it more succinctly than I'm about to. Because STRs are important to this unique mountain community, skiing community, and because the quality of life in our town is the highest priority. And we need to figure out how to make those two coexist, like he's showing us. I think this contract will give us a good handle on our own data, not secondhand data. It will give us the opportunity for a responsive system, and it will give us opportunity to enforce the policies that are linked to safety and well-being. And that comes full circle back to having better data to make decisions about the future. We started this talking about a tech heavy, a very technical approach. And we came around to decide that giving everybody this opportunity to talk to somebody would be an important commitment to saying, we want to make sure we understand. And as the year goes on, we can assess whether this is working, we can assess the data. I know I'm sort of going on here because I think this is important enough that everybody understands where we're coming from and how we got to this. Thanks to the CEO doing all the work. Thank you.
The comments? Yeah, one minor clarification, total cost of the contract is about $62,000. The monitoring piece of it, the online piece is 20. The online form piece is 2, then the rest of the data piece that this contract we provided is the remainder. So it's really a fairly small piece. Overall, when you consider the potential benefits of the data that we're going to receive from this. Any other comments? No other comments or discussion? In that case, we've had a motion and a second. I'll now call for a vote on resolution 2024-51, a resolution of the town of Keystone, Colorado, approving town of Keystone 24-001, a resolution of the town council of the town of Keystone, Colorado, approving the master services agreement with Decker Technology. So with that, all in favor, please raise your hands. Opposed? Motion is carried by a vote of 6-0. The next item on the agenda is resolution 2024-51, a resolution of the town council of the town of Keystone approving town of Keystone 24-001, a general subdivision exemption plat for tract G of Keystone Village amended. And with that, I'll turn it over to town manager.
And I will pass this one on to our community development director. So, as far as types of general subdivision exemptions, this is about as easy as it gets. So I was kind of happy that this one came through. We sort of introduced you to the world of subdivisions and general subdivision exemptions. And basically, I know there was some previous discussion on how to process this, but it is a class 6. It is not quasi-judicial in nature. It's administrative in nature. And with that, I need a little bit of background with regards to the property. The property was actually platted, and then subsequently it has 2 separate general subdivision exemption reviews. And basically, again, those are administrative in nature and they accomplish different things. What I can tell you is the boundaries of the property did not change. All this is truly doing is putting legal mechanisms in place. Even when our attorney looks up and we say we're legal, mechanisms in place for access of utilities so that they can, from a legal standpoint, be utilized in an effective manner in perpetuity. So, from a subdivision process, all that work has been done. Now, subsequent to those subdivision exemptions, there was also a site plan. Now, the site plan that was previously approved that we're not doing tonight, just to give you the background, is the physical improvements associated with the property, the two buildings that are associated with the property that are currently under construction. So, as far as this type of general subdivision exemption, there are 7 criteria. And as my staff report illustrates, all 7 criteria can be met. And with that being said, I can certainly go through them all. However, this application certainly complies with that. And as such, staff is recommending that town council approve this general subdivision exemption with the 7 findings contained in the attached draft resolution of approval. I will be coming back, assuming that this does move forward, with the Mylar plat for signature. But we need to process this first. You have questions for staff? Councilmember Sullivan? I guess one of the questions is they're gonna create a right of way, road, I guess you should say, for the. Not right away. I'm sorry. It's private. Easement. That's right. And they're concerned, some concerns are solved, who's responsible for that? The easements will address that from the legal standpoint, yes. Not the city. Turner came down. Down.
There you go.
They're better. Okay, so the question was snow removal on that.
That will be the responsibility of the property owners.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions? No other questions? Then I have a motion. Councilmember Sullivan.
My one question was answered. I move to approve the general subdivision exemption plat to relocate utility access easements in the Brightwood from G.
Councilmember Liston.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any debate on the, or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving resolution 2024-51, a resolution of the town council of the town of Keystone, Colorado, approving TOK 24-001, a general subdivision exemption plat for tract G, Keystone Village, amended. All those in favor, please raise your hands. All those opposed? Motion is carried on a vote of 6-0.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is a report of the town manager and staff. So again, go to the town manager.
And this one I won't pass on. So since our last meeting, staff has met with many people. Community Development Director and I met with Banish Engineering to discuss engineering services. They're actually going to help us put together an RFP to put out for engineering services. And with the Colorado Retirement Association. For council members, if you have not filled out, you are all in a retirement plan. It's not a whole lot of money, but it's very important you come and fill out paperwork. Please come in anytime. I can help you get through it. It's pretty easy, but we need to do it so that the money can actually be invested and put into accounts. Met with the Employers Council, met with the town of Dillon to discuss several types of joint operations that we will be exploring deeper in the near future. Town of Dillon is working through some of their own problems at this point.
we've had some very good meetings with Tim and Blue Vector to set up our licensing AI platform for the SDRs. It should be a wonderful solution to the SDR owners. It should be really intuitive and easy to work through, and I think we have a really good group we're working with there. We were at the latest Summit County Housing Authority meeting. At that meeting, the board approved redoing the IGA to include the town of Keystone. The IGA should be out any day now to the various towns to take back to their own town councils for approval. All the town councils have already given straw votes on this before the SDHA made that decision. We're already utilizing the SDHA to review some deed restrictions on projects that are coming up. And as the executive director said, I already consider you guys part of it. So that was good news. Let's see, we went to the CML conference, but I'll let board members talk about that, and had some good meetings with Dover. For those of you who went to the CML concert, please conference, CML conference. I didn't hear any singing there, although some of those late nights after the receptions. Please get your reimbursement forms back to me, and if you haven't turned them in, talk to me first. We'll turn in 2 of our mileage reimbursements to CIRSA. Upcoming, let me see, I have meetings with numerous people about Keystone roads. We have the Kindred topping out ceremony tomorrow. And Keystone Owners Association meeting next week. And I'll also be meeting with Keystone Neighborhood Company people. EIAF grants are opening in July. We will be applying for one of those to help offset the cost of a comprehensive plan. I'll be bringing that next board meeting, needs board approval to apply for Dover grants. For those of you who haven't heard, Chris Sorensen is no longer in charge of Keystone Resort. Our Vail Resorts is looking to bring someone in relatively quickly. For right now, the senior vice president in charge of the Rocky Mountain region, that's Utah and Colorado, is taking on the GM duties and president duties at Keystone. Apparently they're looking in-house to fill this position. That's all the details we have about that. I've reached out to see if our July 19th mountain tour is still on. Have not received word back yet, but I will let you know as soon as I find it. Speaking of resorts, we just found out that Arapahoe Basin announced this week that for the upcoming ski season, they are going to treat the Icon Pass the same way they have before, which is Icon Basic Pass, we get 5 ski days, Icon Pass, we get 7 ski days. So we shouldn't see a large impact this upcoming ski season from Alterra's acquisition of Arapahoe Basin. I've talked to the mayor, and we really feel we should have Ellen come down and speak to the board at some time in the near future. XL is still working on Soda Ridge Road. Hopefully that'll slow up some of the traffic. But when they are complete, they will be restoring that road. It's going to be a long project. It will last the entire summer. Town jobs, we're going to repost the town planner position. The Public Works Director position, application period closes on Friday. At this point, we have 10 applications for that. Several of them look promising at this point. I'll be reaching out to the Department of Revenue, regarding our taxes, which are coming up, making sure they have, starting in July, things change with Department of Revenue. And I just will ensure that they properly have identified Keystone and our boundaries and who pays taxes to that. I'll also be working with the county on a few of the minor taxes that we haven't received money from yet, specific ownership tax, auto ownership tax, and the HUTF, that's the highway users tax fund. That's not the county, but in the state also. Kind of addressing Councilmember Kerr's questions. I will be bringing up our comments in the next couple of weeks, some proposals for establishing some committees, STR committee, open space and trails committee, and business roundtable committee. And sometime in this fall, I will bring up forming citizens advisory committee with the council. Upcoming meetings, ballot questions, nuisance ordinance, hopefully a whole handful of IPAs, the telecom, the dispatch, the nicotine, children's tuition assistance, and SCHA. I will also be bringing up 1041 resolutions, town plan, RFP, and the traffic, model traffic code with parking. So those will be coming in the next several meetings. Looking into getting quiet fans, council chambers, and for our mayor. And we have a few events coming up in the near future. Keystone Resort starts the July 4th celebration this weekend with Stars and Guitars at River Run. On June 29th, the NRO is holding a concert in honor of the town of Keystone, where the NRO started. That will be at the Riverwalk Center, but we will be recognized at the concert. If you need tickets, please reach out to me. We still have a limited number of tickets available.
And then those tickets are
For anyone. You see what else we have, July 13th and 14th, Wine and Jazz. The Keystone Concert Series is ongoing on Fridays. This weekend, they're starting a comedy series on Saturdays. And that is all I have for my mentions.
Does anyone have any questions for manager staff? All right, next is report of mayor and council. Would any council members like to speak about the CM numbers?
A number of us attended the Colorado Municipal Conference last week. And the CML is an organization, one of the biggest values they bring, from my perspective, is they track legislative initiatives in the state house and try to represent us municipalities, home rule organizations. And so I think they do a fabulous job. They also host a number of us, bringing us together. And one of the things that was common across all the state is housing. We spent a significant amount of time this morning in a work session on housing, where we want to go, how we're going to do it. One of the things that being a town brings us is grants, the possibility of grants. We really didn't have that ability to do that without being a town. And one of the things we learned in the CML conference is that there's a lot of federal, state grants available for housing for a number of infrastructure initiatives. So we'll be pursuing some of those over the next year that will be, will help our citizens over the next few years. One of the other comments I thought was interesting was there's a number of conversations about the community openness and civility in government. Because that's something that certainly when you look at the national news, you see challenges across the US. And so there's sessions on that, focus on that, and I think it was an appropriate time to bring that up, especially with the debate coming up. Anyway, it was pretty well received, or part of it as well. We saw a lot of our peer towns, mountain towns, and as well as other towns. So I opened it up for other.
Any other comments? Councilmember Kerr.
I won't talk long this time, but I want to clarify, most of these sessions were educational briefings. And so with my colleagues, we went to economic development workshops and one on the intersection of land use and transportation. So I want you to feel that we're just a little bit smarter than we were last week, and I hope that will pay off for you.
Any other comments? Councilmember Davis.
There were 4 of us that went, and we were the newbies, and there was a lot of excitement about the first new town in Colorado in almost 20 years. We were presented with the Colorado flag, had our picture taken. We were told, I think John told us we'd be treated like rock stars, and it's fairly close. It was very intense. There were about 1,300 people in attendance. It was a great opportunity lots of opportunities to meet people and network and share ideas or find out what other people are doing. Let's face it, we don't need to recreate the wheel. And a lot of the sessions dealt with the legal aspects of running a town, which is extremely important. The best one was presented by Jennifer on what we have been doing this and the other thing that's unusual about us is that we incorporated as a home rule town. So there were a lot of questions about developing a charter. And she did a great job of answering those questions. And there were people coming up to Dan and I going, well, because many towns incorporate a statutory and then become a home rule. And so we got lots of questions on how did you even know how to do it? So even though we were new, we had some experiences that other people didn't have. It was a very valuable use of our time.
Well, couple of other aspects on the home rule charter issue. Well, I'm not sure it's true. We've been told by CML and our attorney it is true that we are the only town in Colorado's history to go straight from unincorporated to home rule. And that was, and we're now seeing the benefit of that action as we're formed, as we start putting our ordinances and everything in place. So we have the flexibility to do things that statutory towns do not have the flexibility to do. And so that was an interesting discussion that we've had in that area. The other thing that was particularly valuable to me was getting an opportunity to meet counterparts in other towns. While at the CML conference, many of these were Front Range or far western slope or southeastern Colorado. They still had some common problems that we had. There's another organization that we are also a member of the Colorado Association of Ski Towns. And we had an opportunity to, meet with them at Mixer, on the next to last night. And what I found with that group is we have a much closer relationship to them and the issues that they face. And we will be having, there is a conference that they will be having, and they also do legislative lobbying for the ski towns as well. There's a meeting of that group in Durango on, I think it's August 25th. And that's something, again, that council members and I'm sure staff, the town manager will be looking at attending. And that from a context standpoint, that'll probably be even more valuable than CML. So CML is really a learning opportunity for politicians. Again, anything else that anyone else would like to bring up on issues? Councilmember Sullivan, could you talk about the presentation you're putting together?
No, sorry. No, we are seeing, a number of, folks say, okay, you've been in business now for 4 months, or the out of the plans, and specifically for HOAs. And so we are, we have a lot to be proud of, putting together a presentation about what the first 4 months look like, what we expect over the next 6 months, next year. This is still not on our plate, on our agenda. I'll be presenting to KNC, and no other HOAs have asked us to present. One other thing I wanted to mention real quick, sorry, is that, and I bring this up to council, is that one of the little things I picked up at the CML is the idea of being better at reaching out to the community, having a little better access. So I'm anxious to discuss with them and propose to the council that we at least once a month have a council coffee where a couple of the council members, different, probably rotating, visit with open meeting at a coffee shop to be decided, time to be decided, but to just offer it up to anybody who'd like to come and talk, vent ideas. And we'll do that on a very scheduled, regular basis.
Yeah, I wanted to go back. So you're going to present to KOA and some HOAs. How can we make that same material available to everyone who's not going to get it that way?
Oh, to everyone else. Okay. Well, KOA actually sent me a list of questions. What I can do is I will put together a report addressing those questions and other questions I've received, comments from our board, and we can post it on our website and get on our emails.
Yeah, I propose that Councilmember Sullivan's putting together a presentation, and then would you post the presentation there, out there, and there's some specific questions that I know are interesting to just about everyone in the community. What's happening on roads, what's happening on SDRs, what's happening in law enforcement? What are the law enforcement issues that the sheriff is seeing in Keystone? Those sort of things. So that would be that's a super idea. Anyone else have anything? Let me then walk through. Councilmember Sullivan and the town manager mentioned that we're starting to get requests to come out and visit, to talk with HOAs or other organizations. And those that we have coming up, and in most of those cases, what we're looking at is having the town manager will be there to address what I'll call the operational issue. Specific questions on road maintenance on this road or whatever. Specific questions on law enforcement, things that are under his day-to-day purview. But we also are looking at having a council member also be there to speak as town manager would say from the political perspective. Now, I don't necessarily consider any of us politicians, but we are viewed by the staff of the world as politicians. So whether we like it or not, we need to embrace that. Upcoming sessions that we do have is on June 26th, I think it is, with KNC. And Councilmember Sullivan's going to be attending that. On July 2nd, this is a new one I got this afternoon. The ranch HOAs would like to have someone come in and talk about where the town is, where we're going, and address issues. Is there any council member that'd be available at 10 a.m. in the morning at the Keystone Ranch Restaurant that would like to attend that? All right. Please get back to me. And on the 3rd, we have the KOA annual meeting that the town manager, myself, the sheriff will be there, and all the council members are invited to attend. I think council member Davis will be there as well. The rest of you are also invited. It's about 10:30 in the morning over in Keystone Lodge, I believe it is.
Yeah.
And that is coming up on the 20th. I believe we have Key Condo is having an HOA meeting. And again, 10 a.m. In the morning. And then again, the town manager has it on his schedule, but again, it'd be nice to have a council member there as well. Their primary interest in short-term rental issue. And on the 28th of September, Quicksilver's having their HOA meeting. And again, would like to have someone present. And again, the primary topic there is a short-term rental. I think this is an opportunity, as Councilmember Sullivan has pointed out, for us to get out into the community and to explain what's going on and to be able to answer questions and hear concerns. Because if we don't hear concerns, it's really hard to address them as we go forward. And that is, does anyone else have anything to discuss?
Katie's 28th Friday, instead.
Kansas Friday. Right. You're right, it is Friday. I was thinking, I must have looked at one. Yes, it is Friday. And on the, so if there are no other, mayor council issues to discuss, we now move into other matters. Would anyone like to bring something up? Right. I'd like to, go ahead. Oh, Councilmember Kerr.
So I was talking with Sam Lightis about quasi judicial issues. And the challenge that if there's a quasi judicial, that is a decision that the council will be making and the planning commission will be making about an individual's land use or something along those lines, then there's a whole spectrum of policies and prohibitions that Ms. Madsen is already clarified for us about not taking comments from others, not seeking comments from others, that everything will be decided at that public hearing. So to that end, I asked him, well, what do we do if people reach out to us and just propose stuff? And he recommended a policy. No, he was very careful. He recommended the council consider thinking about a policy, whereas whenever there is a quasi judicial issue coming up, that it's posted on the website and the Facebook site with a link back to guidance about this is what the council and the planning commission and the staff will not be able to interact with you. And if you want to know more about the issue, here's the agenda materials. So this is essentially, his thought was that way we could be both transparent and protective. Actually, the third one, kind of get out front, proactive. I forgot all about it till this moment, so I can give you a heads up, Ms. Nansen, but I just wanted to throw that out. If you think that sort of idea would be a good idea, I'd like to ask you first, Ms. Nansen.
I do think it would be a good idea. I think it's appropriate for all of those reasons, the transparent and, what other adjectives that we use.
Proactive and
Yeah.
another really good one.
So I think it's reasonable and appropriate.
Other thoughts from my fellow council members?
Thoughts from the town manager? Thoughts from the town manager?
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. We'll work with our attorney and get the proper language and we'll post it wherever we can, as educational. Oh, and I have one more comment. It's bike to work day tomorrow.
This-
Bike to work day tomorrow, right, Maddie?
Everybody. And I guess I have a question. Anyone else? Last question for council. Last week in a work session, we heard from the fire district of Suffolk County Fire and EMS. And would there be interest from the council for a session if we asked the Snake River Water District Director to come in and talk about what their responsibilities are, the actions they have going on in Keystone now and where they're heading in the future?
Yes.
So,
Already on
got it. Super. And, is there anything else? No other issues? We have no executive session today. And with that, can I have a motion to adjourn? No.
Motion to adjourn.
There's a second. Councilman Jay,
So,
all those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you.